Hello, and welcome to episode 21 of the Very Metal Diary of Cleo Howard. Saturday, 1st of November. Mopey Dick was smoking clove cigarettes in the Green Man tonight. The barman came over to investigate the strange smell. Sunday, 2nd of November. Natalie and Brullier is at number 1 with Torn. Ian thinks she's quite fit. His condoms are still unused. I listened to Suicidal Tendencies' Lights Camera Revolution album. The song alone makes me cry, but I didn't stop listening to it. Mrs. Butler came round with some magazines for Mum. I read the problem pages as usual. The problems were, my husband says I'm boring in bed, my boss keeps flirting with me, my colleague keeps taking the credit for my work, and men never seem to stay around long after I've slept with them. Monday, 3rd of November. Today is the first day of half term. Jenny has gone early Christmas shopping with her mum, and Ian is playing Doom with Matty Bateman. If I wasn't such a resourceful and fascinating individual, I'd be bored. I spent most of the morning practising dropping my knickers, and then stepping out of one leg, and then flicking them into the air and catching them. I'm hoping not to be boring in the bedroom, dear diary. Tuesday, 4th of November. Sometimes when I listen to music, it feels like I'm having a holiday in my head, and all the bad stuff that buzzes around in it at the moment just sort of gets drowned out. I listened to Rancid's and Out Come the Wolves 3 times today. Ian came round while I was putting the washing away. Mum said I've got to help around the house because it's half term. And he made me laugh by putting my wonder bra on and pretending to be a lady. I pinged his bra strap and I called him my little cupcake, and then I patted him on the bottom. He giggled and he said he wasn't that kind of girl and that he didn't want me to get the wrong idea, and then he flung himself on my bed and he said, take me, I can resist no longer. I tickled him until we were both out of breath. Wednesday, 5th of November. I went to a bonfire party at Jenny's tonight. Her mum asked me yesterday if I wanted to invite Mum, but Mum was at work anyway. Pam said that it must be very hard for us, and I wondered what she was talking about, and then I remembered that Dad was dead. I didn't feel like going to the party, but I didn't feel like being on my own either. It was good when I got there. We had sparklers, and we wrote rude words with them, and some of Jenny's brother Bruce's friends were there. Bruce is 4 years older than us, but Jenny talks to his friends like they're just normal people. One of them likes prog rock and he's got quite long hair, but I'll never see him again because he's at university. Minty came over and she hugged me and she told me how sad she was to hear that my dad had died. I've now got used to hearing this. I've also got used to hearing myself say, it was a terrible shock and thank you for your kind words. Each time I hear it, it gets realer and realer and realer. Kerrang wasn't worth buying today. It's got Bush on the cover. I bought Terrorizer instead because it's got Motorhead and Venom. I think I'm going to stop buying Kerrang and get Terrorizer Always instead. Everything dies, including my love of Kerrang. Thursday, 6th of November. Jean from up the road came round this evening. She wondered if I'd seen her and Josie's cat, Virginia. She thinks the fireworks startled her last night and that she's run off somewhere to hide. We had a look in our shed, even though it was unlikely she'd be in there because it was locked. And then we walked round the garden, shouting, Ginny, 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 but we had no luck. I told Jean that on my way to school tomorrow I'd keep a lookout, because sometimes Ginny follows me down the road for a bit, and then I give her a bit of a fuss, and I go off to school. Mum came home while we were looking, and she found the torch, so we even looked under the really big bushes at the bottom of the garden, but there was still no luck. Mum invited Jean in for coffee and hobnobs. If you eat half a packet of hobnobs, are you left with all the hobs? Or, as is probably more likely, left with all the knobs? Or are the biscuits distributed evenly in the pack, so it goes hob, knob, hob, knob, and so on. Friday, 7th of November. Jean has found Ginny. She must have come in through the cat flap in the middle of the night. Jean stopped me on my way to school to tell me, and she thanked me for my help. And I said, I'm so glad to hear your Ginny is okay. I always like to stop for a bit of a stroke on my way to school. Mr. Moffat from 108 was walking past as I said this, and he gave us a really odd look. I met Barry after he finished work. We went to the pub again, and we played table football, and we had some chips. When I first met him, I was too nervous to eat in front of him, but I'm not now. He walked me home, and we said goodbye at the massive hedge up the road. It took ages to say goodbye. I wish I was still there now. I think I could faded you-know-what through his trousers, dear Barry. I've actually started being able to talk to Barry, mainly about music, but also about what I'd like to do after school and about books I've read. Saturday, 8th of November. I love being outside at night. It smells of possibilities and excitement. I saw loads of fireworks on my way to the pub tonight. If there is a heaven, my dad will be getting a great view. And if there's not a heaven, then at least he's in no discomfort or pain. The pub was great. I sat next to T-Reg for most of the night. He seems so different since he's left school, so grown up somehow. I felt a bit bad enjoying sitting by him because of Barry, but me and Barry aren't officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Yet. Ian and I walked home together as usual, and we paused in the park for a bit because he needed a wee. We sat on the bench and we stared at the stars and the fireworks. Ian asked me if Barry ever pressurises me to have sex with him, and I said no, he doesn't, but I think he wants to have sex with me, based on his erection. Ian told me to remember that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Sunday, 9th of November. How do you know if a boy is willing to be your boyfriend? Today, I'm mostly listening to Ozzy Osbourne's No More Tears. Monday, 10th of November. Bloody Mr. Moffat from number 108, and excuse my language, dear diary, but I'm fuming, stopped Mum on her way to work to ask her if she thought my chatting unchaperoned to Jean was entirely sensible. He said that young minds can be swayed by the exotic. Mum told him that we find Jean and Josie to be wonderful neighbours, and then Mr. Moffat said wasn't she concerned about their proclivities? He means about them being lesbians, dear diary. Mum asked what proclivities, and Mr. Moffat ummed and ahed, and he said that they were of a mind not to marry. Mum said that that was none of her concern, and none of his, so long as they kept their garden tidy and they didn't have any really loud parties. Mum doesn't put up with all of Mr. Moffat's nonsense. She isn't homophobic. She doesn't approve of anybody enjoying themselves by having sex. Mum said she's going to give me more pocket money and a clothing allowance. I've been asking for ages for a clothing allowance, like Jenny gets, but Mum said she couldn't afford it. Now, Mum is getting a pension from the jewellery company that Dad worked for. Because they were separated and not divorced, she's entitled to it. I can't be properly happy about getting what I want, because of the reason why I got it. Tuesday, 11th of November. You can spend minutes, hours, days, weeks, or even months overanalyzing a situation, trying to put the pieces together, justifying what could have, would have happened. Or you can just leave the pieces on the floor and move the fuck on. Not my words, dear diary, but the words of Tupac Shakur. I should note that I'm not usually going to sort out my emotional problems by reference to the works of Tupac. It's just that this particular quote seems useful. It was given to me by Donna Harlow. She doesn't have a dad either. He's not dead, she just doesn't know who he is. At least I got to know my dad, and I had him for 15 years. Some people never even get that. Ian's mum is still alive, but he never sees her. She's not interested in her sons, and he has to live every single day with that fact. People say nasty things about Donna, They say that she's easy, but I think she's a lovely person, and why does it matter if she likes sleeping with boys? If people were honest, they would admit that it's only the fear of the consequences, or perhaps shyness, that stops them from doing what she's doing. Wednesday, 12th of November. Janine Sackett did a flamethrower with a Bunsen burner and a can of Lynx that she'd nicked out of Mark Dobbs' bag in chemistry today. The supply teacher, Miss Erickson, muttered, "Dorothy Hodgkin," under her breath and went pale. She confiscated the Lynx, and she said no one was to turn on a gas tap this lesson because we're doing theory, not practice. Our class has sent off a whole load of chemistry and physics teachers this year. Mr. Bagnall from biology, is made of much stronger stuff, and he continues chucking biology our way every week. Some of it even sticks in my head. Janine was dared to do the flamethrower by Karina Norman. If Karina told her to jump off a bridge, she'd probably do it. Thursday, 13th of November. I ate some avocado today for the first time ever at Jenny's house. It was quite nice. Friday, 14th of November. Yesterday wasn't the first time I've had avocado, dear diary. It turns out that guacamole is made out of avocados. I met Barry after school, and instead of going to the pub, we went back to his house because his mum was out. We snogged on the sofa, and he put his hand in my bra. Before he did, I told him it was a wonder bra, and then I tried to tell him I was 15, but he was too busy kissing me to listen. And then his hand moved pantwards. He had a visible stiffy almost all evening. After he walked me home, I just couldn't sleep. I stayed up late watching Airheads. It's a good film, but I was disappointed by Michael McKean, who was David St. Hubbins in Spinal Tap, because in Airheads he was Milo, a nasty radio station manager. And I was also disappointed by Judd Nelson, who's the hottie from The Breakfast Club, being Jimmy Wing, who's an evil record company executive. Brendan Fraser is very cute, but not as cute as Barry. My own hand had to move pantwards before I could get any sleep, dear diary. I know from the problem pages in Cosmopolitan that this is not a sin and that most women do this. When I say most women, I mean most women who read Cosmopolitan. I'm not sure about, for instance, the readers of People's Friend, because they don't have a sex survey like Cosmopolitan does. They do have a story about a group of birds that live in a teapot. Saturday, 15th of November. I went round to Jenny's and I told her all about what happened with Barry last night, and then we went to the pub. Jenny said I've moved on to practice, not theory. Sunday, 16th of November. I went round to see Nanny Howard. She told me that she'd been to see a spiritualist and that Dad is safely on the other side, and that he doesn't want us to grieve for him. He's in a wonderful place and he'll see us again in heaven. Dad never believed in God, so it's lovely that God let him go to heaven. But suppose the spiritualist is just telling Nanny what she wants to hear, like the white lies I sometimes tell to Nanny. It's just small stuff, things like, thank you for the jumper, yes, Alid Jones is handsome, no, I never have more than one drink when I go to the pub.